Welcome to Compression, the quest to $100 million in just 1 year. Join me, your host, Logan Freeman, in this one-of-a-kind interactive podcast experience where I am on a quest to compress 3 years of achievement and production into 12 months. And no, the answer is not to just work harder. I'm bringing you not only ideas and concepts that are complete at the theoretical level, but they're also effective at the applied level. Look, guys, knowledge is not power. It is potential power. Knowledge plus massive strategic action equals power. We're talking about strategy, systems, accountability, all in real time. This is Compression. Here we go, another episode of the Compression podcast. And, you know, Jerome, when I woke up this morning, it was raining and it was pouring down rain and storming all night long here in Kansas City. And, you know, I always thought that it was interesting, you know, how people allow, and I think we've talked about the weather a little bit on this show before, but how people allow the weather to make them feel a certain way. It still kind of boggles my mind on, it's like, man, oh, it's a dreary day today. I'm tired. It's like, no, that's not how the world works, you know? Now, I do realize that people that live in Seattle and stuff like that don't see the sun, there is an impact to that, right? But like, if you are in a normal 4-season kind of place like, you know, Kansas City, and it's raining one day, you don't get to just like chalk it up as a loss and say, oh, I'm not going to do anything. You know, I'm just going to, you know, ring it in for the evening and just kind of, it's Friday and it's raining. So, you know, I'm going to let my personality be that same way. It's just like, man, it's so funny how well, it's going to rain, you know, it's like, so, I mean, I was supposed to, like I was telling you, I was supposed to be on the golf course right now and playing with a prospective new, I think, sizable investor. And, you know, we had to cancel. And it's like, dude, you just have to pivot, you know, and what opportunity is God creating for me right now, since I have to pivot and move from one thing to the next? How can I make this moment, these hours that I have back now, really count? And that got me thinking. And, you know, the kids are home from daycare today because they have some sort of in-service day or something. I don't really know what that is, but I mean, so I got to spend some time with my kids, and Isabella is going to be on one of these next Finish Strong Fridays. She came in, she loves playing with the microphone and seeing herself on camera. She's like, what is this? You know? And I'm like, well, talk into it, babe. And she started doing it, and she started lighting up. Like, I could hear myself when I played it back to her. So, you know, just, I guess the point being, you know, just because expectations aren't met, and that obviously led to my LinkedIn post this morning too, about the torrential downpour. And it's like, if expectations aren't met, what do? Well, you got to stay hard on disciplines and soft on schedules. You got to be like water. You got to just be able to flow. And so that's what we're doing here. So I texted Jerome and said, hey, I got a little time here. Let's get the Compression podcast in so you can get your afternoon back, and maybe I can grab another hour with my family this afternoon. So I appreciate you, Jerome. And it's always looking for the lessons that we can learn through, you know, what's happening on a regular basis, man. So I'm happy to be here with you this morning.
It's always a pleasure, man. It's been a roller coaster week, so you folks are in for a treat today, baby.
Yeah, it absolutely has. We'll start off. We are at 68.2 million. So we haven't quite hit the 70% mark, but 68.2 million out of the $100 million mark. And I'm really proud to, I always say that I'm really proud, but that's one of the things subconsciously that I've trained my brain to say, hey, you need to pat yourself on the back through Jerome's coaching and guidance. It's like, hey, man, you got to celebrate the wins. So guess what? Last night we had a 4 to 5 p.m. Happy hour with our whole team, which, you know, it's hard to find tables at restaurants to go to now with this growing team. We used to just be 3 people. Not the case anymore, but we went out and celebrated that win. But, you know, I'd say that I'm proud every single week. You guys have to listen to this. I'm a repetitive guy. I'm training myself. I'm training my language, focus, language, physiology. All 3 things of the triad I'm working on a regular basis. So when I say I'm proud, it's not that I'm trying to boast. It's that I've trained myself to, whenever I bring that number out, I'm proud of that. And I'm trying to celebrate that, because in the past 6 months ago, I would have said, okay, great. Where's the next one? You know, where's the next one? When's the next one coming? You know, and, you know, that's one thing that we'll talk about today that Dr. Jeff Spencer talked about. It's not so much always going out there and making it happen. Yes, you have to do that, but you got to let things come to you just about as much. And so when you're overly aggressive, which I have been in the past, and I probably still am to some extent, I think that you can get yourself into some risky scenarios. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. How do I overcome challenges? Where do I have to redirect time? I had to cancel on Jerome yesterday for the for the Dream Catchers podcast. And so I have to get that rescheduled, and we'll talk about that as well. But I think the intention that you're going to get is this week was not an easy week. We had a lot of things happen in our business that were challenging. And we're going to talk about those challenges this week. You're going to see how we're kind of overcoming these, how we're approaching them, and how we continue to still make sure that we're moving forward despite those challenges. So that's what we're going to talk about today, Jerome. Anything to add there, my man?
No, we're just going to dive in, man.
Yeah, I think the last thing that I forgot to add was we're going to do a review of my habits because as I have my habit tracker here, there's 10 habits on a weekly basis that I'm writing down. And then I set a goal for the habits that I want to do, how many times I want to do them per week. And out of those 10 goals, this week I had a goal of 63. And I realize it's Friday, so I still have to do these things on Saturday and Sunday. But, I mapped out the forecast to what I'm going to be completing, and it's 62 out of 63. So I'm not really great at math, but I think that's 98 or 99% of the habits in the last couple of weeks have been very similar to that. So it's time to find some new habits. It's time to find some new rituals to implement, because the ones that I was talking about 3, 4, 5 months ago are in the routine now. And it's just a part of who I am. And so we're going to do some stretching on the habits today as well. So that's one thing that you guys are going to get out of there as well. So I think this will be a very
Add
good
another plate,
episode.
man. Put a 5 pound on each side of the barbell. Let's go.
That's right, man. That's right. So, we'll do the habit thing here soon. I'll get through wins, losses, and learnings right now, and then we'll jump into the habits. But success for me this week looked like this. This is what I wrote down: living out the gospel, being a hero husband and father, sacrificing and not putting myself first, and in parentheses, putting my family first, staying focused on task, and being positive. And I think I achieved that very well this week, which I'm really proud to say. Taylor and I have been in a little bit of a marital rut, I would say, just kind of, going through the motions a little bit, busy, tired, all the stuff. And so this week we really focused on our relationship. We pulled out our old deck of cards from the bar that we've got here that it's called Love Language, and it's a deck of cards. We went out and had a couple old fashions on Monday night on our patio, and we went through about 25 or 30 of those cards and just reconnected. Just took an hour and a half or 2 hours and just talked. And so that was really big win for me, was to refocus, connect on a deeper level other than just physical, and kind of just check in, and see how each person is doing. So that was a huge win, man. And one thing that I really wanted to focus on, we also had a date night, and we also made time for each other last night as well. So, that's 3 nights out of the week that we were very intentional about putting our relationship first, which I think is really important. And we are back on the same page. And I always want to stay on the same page, because when you're not, I don't let it necessarily affect my business and my performance, but it's always in the back of the mind. It's like, hey, what are your priorities? Faith, family. Okay, well, family's not feeling good. What do you have to do to get there? And this week, I think we did a really good job as husband and wife on getting back on the same page. So that was a huge win, man.
Would you replace to make that investment?
Netflix.
Because you had to reallocate time.
Netflix. We replaced Netflix with talking. She loves watching shows together, and so I thought that was enough, but that was not enough. And so instead of sitting down on the couch and watching, an episode of a show together, we decided to put the phones away and just focus on each other instead, so that we reallocated that time and only watched 1 episode this whole week instead of 5. That's where the allocation of time came from.
How do you make that a practice?
Don't sit down in front of the TV. I think it's
so,
pretty.
For giggles, right? We don't have a TV on the first floor. So if somebody comes to visit us and we're sitting in the common area, there's no choice but to talk.
Yep.
Just to you opt set up the environment so you have to go do something, right? You put the phone all the way upstairs in the bedroom on the far side of the bed, so you got to go get it.
Yep.
So that you get rid of the TV.
Absolutely.
So that you got to go somewhere else to do it that's inconvenient. And then you're opting into that activity versus having to opt out of it. It's easy to just walk in, flip it on, and oh yeah, it's on. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Versus let me go to this place and sit down and watch TV.
Absolutely. That's a good press. I have a feeling that TV's not moving out of that room because of the kids. And that would be a big change. We have a huge TV downstairs though, as well. And, another one upstairs. So good press, man. That I'll bring that up to her and see what she has to say about that. We'll see how that goes. All right. Cool. Some more wins. Bringing on our marketing director. Allison is crushing it, guys. My time. Oh my gosh. Our launches for new projects, marketing in regards to graphic design and offering memorandums and active campaign and all of these things. I have literally gotten 5 to 7 hours back a week. And that is exciting. Now, it hasn't necessarily, I think that actually number will be tenfold because she's still onboarding, right? And so I'm still spending a lot of time with her. But even with that going on, she was the right fit for this role that's already giving me time back, even though I'm putting in 150% more time up front. So I can only imagine in 2 months when she's running at full speed, how much more time I'm going to get back. It literally could be 10 to 20 hours a week, which I am just extremely stoked about. And so being able to spend that time building more relationships, because that's my number one profit producing activity, I think is going to be immensely beneficial to our business. I mean, it is so exciting to have her on board and rocking and rolling and owning the marketing of FTW Investments. So huge win on that front. We started to utilize some text messages in our launches, which is really exciting too. So I see some other sponsors out there getting on the text game and ringless voicemail. I'm not doing the ringless voicemail thing, but I am doing the text message right now. So instead of just sending emails, I'm getting in people's pockets, which is an exciting thing. So I'm pretty excited about that, man. All right. Well, we thought we were going to hire another executive assistant. And if you guys follow me on LinkedIn, you'll know that we posted our investor relations assistant.
And I'm applying for that job. It kind of kicked me out when I clicked the link. I was trying to get on, but it wasn't working.
I put a qualification in there, and if you're overqualified like Jerome, you just can't even apply for that thing. So I'm sorry, man. It's just not the right fit is what I put on LinkedIn on there. But I'm stoked about having that role posted because, again, what do we talk about? Getting time back, right? Eliminate, automate, delegate. And so I'm taking this into serious consideration and implementing that into our business. And so we've got a couple great applicants that we're going to start working towards getting on board. I have no idea where they're going to office out of because we already are doubling up in every single one of our offices. But thankfully, we'll be moving into some more space here very soon. So that was a big win, getting that position created and then posted on all of the hiring boards and LinkedIn. So I'm excited about that, man. Okay. Diet has been about 80% this week, which last week was about 20%. And so I flipped the switch on that bad boy and I'm feeling really good about my weigh in on Monday and or next Tuesday, sorry, is when I weigh in every single week. And I'm really stoked about, not feeling like I have any urges, it's like the things that I used to crave and want and all of that stuff I've started to dissipate. And multiple people have said, wow, you starting to lean out a little bit, and I might not even be losing necessarily weight, but it's transferring and that's always what happens with me first is the weight reallocates itself on my body and then it starts to go away, which I'm fine with, but clothes are fitting good. I'm feeling good. I got a lot of energy. I drank a lot less alcohol this week, which was a big win as well. And so had better sleep as well. So if you see me today, I look a lot different than probably last Friday or Saturday, when we recorded, because I feel better. I feel better. And I told you guys I was going to do that. And I just got to keep stacking those opportunities on top of each other. All right. We onboarded Insperity as a HR program and employee benefits. So this is a big win. I mean, we've got 10, 11 employees now, and they have access to some of the best health insurance, 401k, and benefits as employees now. And that's a really cool iteration for our business, is to say we have the opportunity to provide these type of benefits for our employees, and that's super exciting. It also gives us a little bit more flexibility for if and when, our wives or husbands decide to, stay at home at any given time. Obviously I don't have a husband, but we have a lot of females that work at our business. And so, being able to utilize that, it's going to help us attract more talent. And I think that's just a really cool thing to be able to offer to our employees. So I'm stoked about that. They're onboarded and rocking and rolling, man.
What led you down that path? Because that a lot of people see that as an expense, but I know you guys see it as an investment.
I think it's an investment in our people. We want to have a culture that we're pouring back into our people and giving them the opportunities to build wealth, not only through 401ks and things like that, but also into our projects too. But attracting the top talent, I think if you are getting to a certain level, people that want to come work with you, A players, they need to know that their benefits are going to be taken care of. And so for us, it was an investment not only in ourselves, but in our business, in the sense that we can attract even better talent and continue to compete with the larger firms, because we were able to onboard this HR program and platform that allows us to feel like a business with 200 employees when we really only have 11, which is really cool. I'm not sure there's a lot of small businesses out there doing that. Yeah, sure, it's an expense, but what's the ROI on that expense? It's the difference between price and cost, right? What does it cost me not to have these benefits? Not what is the price every single month? Yeah, sure. We're pouring a lot of capital into that stuff. But if I look at allocation in regards to investment, I can invest back into my business. I can invest in real estate. I can invest in education. I can invest in somebody else's deals. We're just deciding to invest back into our business because I think it's going to attract even better talent for us.
I think the investment in the people, whether it's yourself or your staff, is the highest ROI you can get at this stage of the business.
And they see that too, right? I mean, they're like, holy cow, that's awesome. That's a great opportunity for us. And so great feedback on that front as well. Hit 62 out of 63 of my habits. I know that I said that, these are becoming a part of me, but these are also not easy just to always hit on a regular basis. So it's still a huge win to hit 99% of the habits that I was trying to, attract. And one of the things that I put on here every week is read and level up. And yeah, sure, I haven't read a whole bunch of text per se, but I've implemented, the podcast and the Audible and everything that I need to. I'm reading more memos. So if you guys see this here, I don't have books necessarily, but I got printouts of all of these financial memos that I'm reading. I'm reading a lot of Ray Dalio, changing world order type of things in regards to understanding cycles. And, I've got all these books and I want to read them all. I do. One of the lessons learned here is, got to build that back into my time. But even when I'm running at full speed, I'm still able to get, a book a month in through Audible and things like that. So, I'm not worried. I was holding myself hostage on, hey, you haven't, picked up a book and actually read one here in a recent time being, but I don't feel like I'm falling behind by any means, because I'm taking in information by talking to more educated and experienced people. I've spent more time doing that. And I'm learning more from them than I probably could than, sitting down and reading 4 or 5 books. And I'm reading different types of text right now as well. I've got my macro and microeconomics and stuff here. What I've learned through my 5 or 6 months of studying is it's good to know how the world works, the financial markets work, but anything based on macro forecasting, all of the experienced investors just write that stuff off. But I needed the foundational, information. And so I still love to read that stuff, stay on top of it. But, just finding that right mix of the way that you're learning on a regular basis is really important. And I'm a audio and visual learner, but I actually learn even better by asking questions. And so I've implemented a new kind of mentorship program with Ryan Smith of Elevate Capital has been gracious enough to meet with me for an hour every single month and just talking about how he grew his business. By the way, he has 200 employees. He's working on his 7th fund, which is over 350 million of equity. And so I think that's what that number would be. And so I'm really excited to have that type of person to be able to talk to on a regular basis. And, I'm learning through experiences, and that's not necessarily just reading a bunch of text all the time as well. So that's a huge win, man, is just finding that right mix for myself.
Wow. Whoa. So this is it's interesting. So do you aspire to build a business that big?
He told me that he has 16 people at his core business and the rest of them are in the field. And so, his model's a little different than ours. He's a mobile home park self-storage guy. And so he has assets in, 15, 20 states. And so, he's owning the management of that. I do not think that we will have that many folks at our business at any given time. But what was comforting was, hey, we're at 11. He's at 16. He's managing billions of dollars of equity. I'm not doing that yet. So from 11 to 15 people, I think we can actually continue to scale up without having to add more people to the core business. Now, if we do property management, we do construction, sure, there'll be another 25, 50 people. But I don't think we'll ever have, 200. Do I aspire to build a business his size? Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. I think that we will. I think we're well on our way. And it's inspiring listening to a guy who's already gone through that and is doing that at a very high level. And if you talk to anybody about Ryan Smith, it's only positive. And he works with his wife, by the way. His wife is his business partner, which, that's in and of itself a huge win and incredible. So Ryan Smith has conversations with guys like Sam Zell, though. Sam Zell wrote a book here on my desk and is probably one of the most successful real estate investors of all time. And Ryan Smith's mentor plays bridge with Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett. So, at the end of the day, I'm a direct line to some of the guys that I read and study and admire so much through Ryan. And I think that is just so cool. So I'm just really grateful for the time that, he gives a young buck like myself, and probably not going to get much out of what I'm bringing him other than him pouring back into me, which is cool. Ryan Smith's also the guy that debated Alan Chang of Marcus and Millichap and Neil Bawa and won by a long shot. And so I thought Hunter Thompson was going to be bringing the fire on that. And Ryan Smith just was the killer in that. And I said, where do you study? He goes, I don't. I study data and I read data, but where I get all my information is people. And so that's why that thread that I mentioned earlier was so impactful for me this week. All right. So we had 2 more wins that I'm going to add here. We celebrated, we sold our first deal ever as FTW Investments. That's a huge win for us, man. Exited a property, small property, but it's good to start small on your exits. So you get to learn on those before you get to the big boys. So going through that has been really great. And then we closed, a 40,000 square foot office building. And we own the office building that we're in now. As well, which was just awesome, man. So the last win was our Parkview webinar. I was trying to get over 100 people on a webinar. That's been my goal. And since we do have some partners on this, I don't think I can allow this to be a win, but on that front. But we did have 102 people sign up for our webinar and raised 1.5 or 1.6 million in less than an hour for our latest deal. And with our 1031 exchange and one other 1031 exchange, that deal likely will be done next week. So huge win on the launch of our deal in Lincoln as well. So big week, man. Big week.
Yeesh. Sold, bought. Well, I guess not bought yet, but close enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
New office space. Yeah, I'm with it.
It's happening, man. So the losses, I was not as prepared for our sale of our property, in regards to a 1031 exchange. The structure, how we put projects together, we have investors and they have the option to roll forward or take their proceeds. And we were not as prepared as we needed to be on our options for our investors on that. So we are debriefing that, and we're going through that. It's a very complex kind of structure and situation that we're learning about through our attorney and a tax accountant. But at the end of the day, man, those operating agreements that people pay a lot of money to get made, and then people sign and never read, you got to know them whenever you go to sell properties, because this is when it really counts. And so, I think that was a loss this week, where we're not as prepared. We had not thought through that process as fully as we needed to.
What would you change?
Getting in front of it. The sale just kind of popped up, and our closing date was on the schedule, but we were so busy with everything else that it just kind of, on a Monday, we were closing on Friday, and we were like, holy cow, we didn't even have our 1031 exchange QI set up. So I had to get that done in an hour to make sure we could get our closing done on Friday. So I think what I would change is we've implemented a post closing checklist, not only for new deals, but when we're going to dispose of deals and sell projects, we have checklists built now. We didn't have that beforehand. And so I would change just having more time and being more thoughtful and intentional about getting all the principals in the room, our team, and talking through all those things, and not having to scramble and being prepared. The next loss was in regards to, I don't know if this is a loss, but when you buy value add deals, you earn your fees. And what I mean by this is, man, this week we had an issue with a roof. We had an issue with a water main break. We had an issue on another property. I mean, we've got 1,100 doors now. We've got 25 properties. And one thing that a lot of people don't talk about is managing all of that.
You got to operate it, man.
Gosh. And holy cow, when you buy value add, the value is what you do in operating and performing against that business plan. And a lot of the deals that I see out there are not true value add deals. It's, hey, we're going to ride the appreciation of rents because there's not enough supply. And so they're just pushing rents because of the market and inflation and supply and demand, not, hey, we got to go fix roofs, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, unit turns, heavy unit turns. I'm talking $7,000 to $9,000 on 650 square feet unit turns. So these are flooring, painting, appliances, bathroom packages, knobs, lighting, all of it. I mean, it is just not as easy as people kind of put out there. And, the challenge or the loss is like this, man. I mean, everybody wants to get reports back that everything's rosy and going great. But when you signed up to buy and to invest in this value add deal, getting to stabilization is not easy all of the time. And it's going to take a lot of work and time. And so I'm glad that we've done a good job setting expectations with him, with our investors. But at the end of the day, we're out there creating the forced appreciation through the value add, which, when you buy properties that need work, problems come up and challenges arise. And we just hit like 3 or 4 of those all in this week. And so, I think the loss being there is just like realizing, what that looks like on a regular basis. And it's not easy. Thankfully, we had the team to support that, and we're doing it, but it's not all, cheesecake and cherries all the time, man. It's you got to get through the muck and the sluck and the crap to get to the other side. And we're just going through that on a lot of projects right now.
Don't tell people that, then they're going to be scared. It's supposed to just print money like a slot machine, man.
Yeah, should be scared if they're, getting into big deals and have no experience on that stuff. So, the other thing, I will say this, man, is, you and I went back and forth on, one of my projects that, has been a challenge, and we've had to extend a few times on the financing side of things. And the loss here is, we kind of got pigeonholed into a timing issue and only having 1 or 2 options to be able to get to close on the financing side. And I think our bank knew that, and they keep changing the terms on us and keep pressing us a little bit. And, it's a new relationship. It's a big bank here. And we're used to working with guys that we have really good relationships with and, can get things done quickly. And as you get to larger banks, there's more red tape, there's more bureaucracy, and there's more people that can say no to something. And so the loss here is not the loss of not getting to close, because we will get to close, but the loss is simply, when you set out to do these projects, you have to be able to have contingencies built in, plan A, B, and C. And you have to expect the unexpected. And unfortunately, on this project, our bank just continues to change the terms on us, which, with where there's really no explanation for it, other than they gave us a term sheet to win the deal and then retraded on us, simply like somebody going in to win a multifamily deal and then 30 days later trying to retrade for $1 million or $2 million bucks. And so I think the loss here is that we needed to have either a better relationship with the team that we were going with, or have another option kind of lined up that wouldn't have taken us away from specific other things that we needed to work on to get this deal headed in the right direction. So,
you got to have multiple options. Like, I think that's the name of the game, regardless of how good your working relationship is. They've got to know somebody else is at the table, because it changes their behavior.
It absolutely does. So my learnings this week comes from Steven Schwartzman's book, What It Takes. He's the Blackstone guy. And I love listening to guys like this because, he just got started, left Lehman Brothers and started Blackstone. And, obviously Blackstone's the largest private, I think, real estate owner or alternative investment company in the world now, or at least in the United States. But at the end of the day, he said this, man, as entrepreneurs, if you are willing to simply accept a challenge and a problem to fix that other people aren't, you will get rewarded for that. And I probably butchered the quote exactly because I didn't write it down, but it was that thread. And when I think back to the value add deals that we're doing, frankly, these are a lot of challenging, problems that we have to fix that other people weren't willing to kind of roll their sleeves up and do. And so the learning there was comforting for me, because if Blackstone went through that in their early years, obviously, we are as well. And I think that, the size of the problem typically, has the size of the reward, but you got to be able to get through that problem and manage it the right way. So that was a big learning lesson listening to his book. The next thing, man, here is the market is shifting and changing in a big way. And
scary, man.
It is, I don't want to use the word bubble because, I think asset prices are, sure, they're high, but it's the question always becomes compared to what. But it's going to be a challenge for us to continue to purchase projects in today's climate. And so the learning here is, okay, well, we need to work towards that self-sustaining business model of having ancillary income coming in. We need to look at different business models to create profit in our business when we cannot, go out and purchase properties, at terms and prices that we like. How are we going to make money? And so I think that we've done a lot of thinking on that and a lot of implementation. And we've got a new team member, starting on Monday that's going to help us with this as well. But, the learning being that there's buying times, there's selling times. And right now it might be a selling time for us. And so maybe we go and package up a few more of our properties and look to see what they might look like on an exit. So I think the learning here is just, you have to be aware. You have to be aware. You have to have the pulse on the market of your business, and you have to be in it on a regular basis. And thankfully, with all the offers that we're putting out, all the people that we talk to, we're able to stay on top of that. And, I just see the new challenge of getting deals over the finish line in the next, 5 to 6 months. And, it's not going to be easy, and that's okay. But at the same time, we cannot get overextended and get ourselves into bad positions. And so that's why I'm pushing so hard on the Legacy project and Parkview project, because those are good deals. We kind of got those deals before some of these changing market shifts that I see happening. And we'll still pick one off every 2 months, but it's probably not going to be, 2 every month anymore. And so, in regards to hitting the goals and things like that, it's going to we're going to have to hunker down, shift, pivot, and start thinking differently and acting differently to make sure that we can still acquire really good properties. So the question has really changed from, hey, what's your bread and butter? Okay, now we understand your bread and butter. how do you make that bread and butter stand out differently and still be able to, order that off of the menu? And, you got to be creative. You have to be creative. So that's a huge learning. I don't have an answer for that yet, but I will tell you, we're trying a lot of things. We're trying new markets. We're trying different asset classes. We are trying, different focuses in our businesses in regard to, getting different profit centers created. We're looking at development. We're looking at franchising. We're looking at all of these different things that might be able to bring us, profit and revenue. But, you have to stay in it, and you have to understand that you can't see that from the outsider's perspective. You got to be inside to do that. So that was just a big learning this week.
So outside of going into new markets, what are you actually doing? Because you've got a lot of LOIs on the street.
Yeah. Looking at new capital sources that are okay, not getting 15%, but okay, getting a nicer asset for 12 to 13%. Because of the landscape that where debt is right now. If you have the right KPs, you can go lock in some incredible low interest rate debt, which could make opportunities good. So asset classes, markets, different sources of capital, selling deals, and then looking at this development / franchising model as well, is all things that we're doing right now. Okay. You put me up on game on Jeff Spencer, and Jeff is a guy I've followed for a long time and just kind of forgot about a little bit. But Jeff got me thinking this week after I listened to him and Lewis Howes, I believe, the one that you sent me over. Maybe it wasn't Lewis. It was Hustle and Flowchart guys. It was the Hustle and Flowchart guys that I listened to, and it got me thinking about, okay, we're almost 9 months in, right? We're 8.5 months in now. And, I'm thinking about, goals for next year and what I need to be focused on. That's when I sent that text message to you saying, hey, I'm going to be okay for the rest of the year, but I got to start leveling up, and I got to get 4 months, at least 3 months on my competition. It's not that I'm writing this year off. It's still going to be a push to get to 100 million. But how could I push myself to rise even higher? And that's what Jeff Spencer got me thinking about. That's why I wanted to talk about the habit tracker and things like that in regards to what do I need to do. And you sent me back a good message. We won't use numbers here, but you say, hey, I want this number to be your floor. I have not reached that floor yet. I don't think, I honestly don't know what my income is because of where we will land with projects and things like that. What I do know is that the floor is not going to be reached probably this year that you mentioned. And the floor for all the listeners was 7 figures, and so at the end of the day, I've got to figure out how to make that my floor on a regular basis with the opportunity to working less. And I don't mean less in the sense of hours. I mean less on low value tasks. And so what I'm seeing myself do when I zoom out and watch myself from a hawk's position is putting people in the right shoes so I don't have to do those things, so I can go focus on these higher level tasks. And we talked a lot about that, but I'm seeing the margin that will actually be created in the next month or 2 months. And so now the question becomes, what are those things, right? And I always go back to deals and capital. And so, I've posed this question to myself. I'm going through a course right now, Building a Mountain of Levers, Eric Jorgensen, highly recommend it. It's an incredible course. Eric's a Kansas City guy, and we've talked about Naval Ravikant a lot on this podcast. But the question I posed myself was, after talking to Ryan Smith, he doesn't take capital from big institutions or big family offices. He works with guys and gals that have net worths between $5 and $200 million. And that's his sweet spot. His average investment, I think you would be okay me saying this, is over $350,000 into his business. Mine is $77,000. Okay. So he's more than 5 times what our average investment is. So the question I pose to myself is, how can I build a schedule next year, or even right now, get started on it, where I can spend 1 week with one guy every single, or gal every single week. So 52 weeks, right? That have a net worth of 5 to 200 million. And so that got me really kind of the wheels spinning on my leveling up and how can I make that happen. So don't have an answer for that, but what it got me thinking about was a new schedule, a new way of reaching out to people and making that very intentional. But what I thought maybe we would do is me go through kind of my daily disciplines, Jerome, and see, what new habits I can kind of create or at least brainstorm to help me rise to this next level, right? That I keep talking about. And so I'm going to read through these real quick. There's 10 of them, so bear with me here. And this is personally and professionally, being very raw and authentic with you guys. This is the things that I'm looking at on a regular basis. So number one, pray and spend time with the Lord. Invoke the Holy Spirit when tempted. Present and patient with my family. Putting my family first, sacrifice for them. Living out the virtues of faith, hope, love, prudence, temperance, justice, and fortitude. Making energizing choices in regards to my food, drink, sleep. Using my productivity system Monday, prioritizing and executing. Getting outside my comfort zone. Reading and leveling up. Get moving and working out. So those are my 10 daily disciplines that I have tracked, but I hit 99% of this week. And so where I'm trying to head, where I'm working towards, what I want to set up. We've kind of set the stage for that. I'd like to brainstorm some ideas on maybe some new disciplines that I can start, implementing. So how do you want to approach this, man?
Give me number 8 again.
Number 8 is getting outside my comfort zone.
Okay.
Number 9 was reading and
leveling.
I got the
others.
Yeah, okay.
I got those.
Got it.
Yeah. So here's the thing, and I think it's really interesting. You don't have anything on here specific to building a network.
I don't. You're absolutely right.
And so, you've done some of the things intentionally, and it's because you're an extrovert, the outside your comfort zone isn't it. Present with your family, but there's nothing here that says I want to meet new people and create relationships. And it's neither good nor bad. It just hasn't been a focus for you.
Right.
So when I think about what you've been able to do, I mean, I don't know, 2 years ago, raising $1 million would have been a big deal. You just said you did it in an hour and a half. It's happened because of the person that you've become and the problem that you solve. But what if you were intentional about that? And so you've added in the golf, and so that's creating some relationships, but you're not doing it for the relationships. You're doing it because you wanted something fun, a new challenge. You were elevating the game, and the little white ball with all the green grass and hitting it with the lever, right, to get it to go to the right place, and having different heads on the lever, which give you different shots, is just a metaphor for life in and of itself. But what if there was a habit for you to grow your relationships or your network with a specific target group? And this goes back to something we probably talked about 3 weeks ago when I asked you, are you in financial services? And you're like, yeah, I'm in private equity. I guess that's the same thing, kind of same industry. All the guys that I work with that truly see themselves as financial advisors or wealth managers, their whole game, their whole business, their whole practice is based on referrals. Right. And so now that you're having some exits, it's going to be very easy for you to ask those folks, hey, now that we send you a check, is there anybody else that should know about this opportunity? Because we've got a full deal story to tell. And I think leveraging and harnessing that is going to be a huge opportunity for you guys to just blow up the network. If you watch Dan Hanford do any of his keynotes lately, he always talks about what he calls the triad, right? Know, like, and trust triad. I call it a funnel, but the thing about his talk is he says when somebody trusts you, and that's because you sent the money, right? They gave you money, you sent the money back. When they trust you, then they refer you to other people, and you fast track the know and like and go quickly to the trust. And so you're able to fill your funnel quicker through the referral network. But all of that to say, how do we embed expansion of network or some type of intentionality with meeting new people outside of maybe your 15-minute calls? And even the structure around that may shift a little bit, right? Because I think the folks who are higher net worth are in one or two camps. Either I'm going to get to know you really well, and so it's high touch, but the check size grows dramatically, or this is just like me sending money to Wall Street. So just send me the wire instructions because I already know that you can execute, and we don't need to spend a bunch of time building a relationship. And which one of those paths you want to go down, I think, will determine the habit that we need to cultivate. Because you're not, because of the way that you structured your business, you're not looking for guys to come in and sign deals for you.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's not what you need. You're looking for LPs who've got the problem of having cash and they need somewhere to put it. They don't want to put it in the market, and they don't have other operators. And I use that word intentionally. People who are actually operating, they don't want to put their money with them. So, you know, and you might not have the answer now because I mean this has happened in real time, but which path do you want to go down? Hey, I'm treating this just like allocation into the stock market, or this is the business that I know the operators, it's high touch, there's some real engagement, and now I'm sending a 250 or $500,000 check to these guys to do this deal, and but I can text Logan and get a response, because those are very different funnels and strategies.
Yeah. Well, I took a lot of notes while you were sitting there, and some ideas kind of came to my periphery. And one of them is, getting a list, getting the people locally who do have that net worth of 5 to 200 million or whatever that is, figuring out who those people are and making it an intentional reach out to meet those people. So that was one thing. Just figuring out who they are, right? I don't know necessarily who all of these people are. So I have to start from, finding who they are. I think we can build the avatar very easily. We've got a lot of experience doing that together, you and I, the brand script and the guide for those folks. But, one thing that we're not doing right now, Jerome, is an FTW podcast. And what I think about Kansas City and the Midwest, yes, I could probably get that list and start figuring out how to, meet with those people on a regular basis. But nationwide, what if I had a podcast where I was only interviewing people that had net worths of 250 or $500 million and had a really great, almost a funnel on the show? Because then their buddies are going to listen to it, and then they're going to send that out to their buddies, and now their buddies want to be on the show. So maybe there's an episode per month that we're interviewing. All three principals are interviewing them and talking about their pain points and walking them through this process so other people can kind of learn about that. So I think there's a script or there's a show flow that actually pulls that stuff out for people that I cannot necessarily sit down with. What do you think about those two things?
We got to figure out what problem we're solving for the listener when we create that content. And I think a Kansas City centric FTW podcast makes a lot of sense, but what problem are we going to solve for the people who have the type of liquidity that they can push some capital into a few deals with us? I'm not sure about the answer to that question. And there's a couple of guys who are doing this really well that I think we can look at what they're doing and begin to understand why they're doing it, and then use that to kind of as a model
Yeah,
for ours.
absolutely.
And then, but I mean, the choke point is this, right? Everybody's looking for a place to put their cash. Everybody understands that the market is frothy. Every Brian Adams, he comes up pretty regularly now, but he just posted something and there was some multiplier and it was like the highest it's ever been or something.
Yep.
And it's just like everybody's like watching, and it's almost like there's a bunch of vultures like circling, right? They know that something's about to happen, but nobody knows what it is, and they're just trying to find a place to be under an umbrella whenever it rains. And so nobody has a crystal ball, but if we can create the content where people are getting some insight, because let's be clear, when your net worth 5 to 200 million, you're not really worried about making more. You're worried about losing what you earned.
Right. Okay. Well, that's great. I've got a lot of notes here. I think there's a way that we can show people who maybe even haven't invested into commercial real estate. One, why FTW, why commercial real estate, how it works, full deal cycle, what that looks like on a returns basis, and have the package created. Have one document that has a page for each one of those things. Hey, here's a 5-pager that has answers these 5 questions. Why FTW? Why multifamily or commercial real estate? Why now? How it works, full deal cycle, what you can expect. So I think that there's an easy way to do that and show that the value of it. But I'm just curious how to get in front of these people on a regular basis will be the challenge or the habit that I have got to create, right? And so that's a great push, man. I've got a ton of notes on this. I think that's wonderful. Let me do some thinking on this as well, do some brainstorming and put this together, and then I'll go implement. But I think it's a great start to network building. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm going to send you a link right after this that plays into this, because the piece, and this is secret sauce, but I'm going to give it to him anyway. The piece that's going to be super important on the backside of this is the experience,
Yeah.
right? Because everybody, not everybody, the majority of folks who have made Wall Street the bad guy are on this same path, right? They're saying, oh, well, your money's in Wall Street, it's at risk, da 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 da. Now we're educating you and showing you that there's an alternative to that. But the experience is the difference.
Right.
The
Absolutely.
experience is what makes them convert. And I just listened to a phenomenal podcast earlier this week that talks about experience. And so we're going to put that on the back burner. We're going to let it simmer. But as we're thinking through this and we begin to curate the content, I think we want to sprinkle in some of this experience stuff so that it flows seamlessly.
All right. In real time, I am taking pictures of my notes, adding them to my productivity system to bring up. And there we go. It is on my weekly top 3. So I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. And I just saw you send me the text at that. So I'm going to get into that as well. What else do you see on here that I'm missing or should or need to add? And I'm not asking that in the sense of like, because I'm a big guy of simplify, right? So it's not like,
Sure.
and I don't want to add too much too quick. I think these things are great. And I don't hit them like this every single week, but I don't think some of them need to remove. But, I think there's 3 or 4 there in the first 5 that probably can become 1 or 2,
Yeah.
right? I've kind of got family on here twice. I've got my faith on here at least 3 times. So
Right.
I think that maybe I can combine a few of those, add the network building component on that. So like moving towards this network component system, our network building system. But like, what else do you see, if anything, that needs to potentially be added, or should we wait until I start implementing the network building to add any new habits or daily disciplines on this front?
Well, I just at a philosophical level, you said you want to focus on your physical health more, right?
Yep.
You're doing the lumen, you're monitoring sleep, you're doing all these things, right? But food and workout, diet and workout aren't in your top five. So how are you going to move those to apex performance level
Yep.
so that your body can handle all this stuff if it's not in your top five? I think it'll be okay, but I don't think you're going to get the outcome that you are seeking. And so there's going to be this turbulent roller coaster ride type of situation if we don't prioritize those a little more. Um, and I believe in doing those things. And if there's a way to do those two things and incorporate the networking with it, although we tend to network and do make poor eating choices, but
Sure.
if there was a way to kind of wrap those together and maybe instead of working out at home, you work out at uh, my friend Brock calls it the gym, but I don't think it's actually a gym. I think it's a country club,
Yeah.
right? You're putting yourself in these situations where those folks may be hanging out, right? Richard Wilson really talks about, being where the people are and just you bump into those types of conversations, just like you said at the golf course. And
Yep.
so if there is a way to adjust the way that you're doing those two things, since they're at least front of mind for you, I think it would be good at least for the next quarter and see what type of results we get at the end of the quarter and see if we need to stay intensely focused on it or if we can put it back to the side and go back deeper on some of this other stuff.
So I have on my daily disciplines, make energizing choices, which is super vague, super vague. Um, and I have get moving and work out. I have no problem right now getting 7 to 10,000 steps per day. So that's kind of just routine for me. So anywhere between 65 and 75,000 steps per week is what I'm getting in. So I have those two on here. I think what I like what you're saying is, you know what? I've been going to and evaluating all of these country clubs around me. I live in a decent area of town, and there's four within 5 to 10 minutes of me. It's a crazy amount of money to pay for an initiation fee, but they have golf and they have workouts. And I'm curious to know if doing that, going to the country club, playing golf one time per week with one of those guys, members, right? I can go on a member kind of meetup or whatever, going to the events, but also showing up to that country club and working out 2 times per week as well, instead of just working out of the comfort of my home, couldn't also help the network building piece as well. I did not connect those two until you said that at all. So I wrote down, figure out the country club and work out there 2 per week. And maybe, just maybe, paying this initiation fee, which has been my mental barrier because it's $20,000 to $40,000, guys. I mean, to join a country club. And I know that sounds like a lot of like money up front because it is. But I land one new investor or two new investors from that. It just boom, there it is. So um, I've kind of put it off. I think that doing that will get me not only around the right network, it'll also, maybe I can pick up a trainer at one of those and push myself a little bit harder on the fitness thing as well. That's a great push, man. That's incredible. That's why we do this, guys. I wasn't even thinking about that type of stuff, and just little tweaks in my schedule during the week could yield massive results. So I think that's good on adding. Let me figure out what I need to do in regards to the network building, put some sort of framework around this. Doing a brain dump will be my first step. And then, maybe making a mind map around that and then figuring out how I actually go implement that. That's probably the first step. I'm going to rely on my team on that. But the second one, I can figure out the country club, the workouts and all of that. I'm playing enough golf now that it probably makes sense to do that anyways. It's hard right now, it being August, joining a club right now because, we won't be able to play golf much for the rest of the year, but each day
But
I
wait, everybody's inside, right?
everybody's inside.
The opportunity, part of the reason you're doing it is for a big part of the reason is for the network, right? And so there's opportunity to meet more people because everybody's not spread out, and just keep that in the back of your mind. And the other piece of it is, and it's a business expense, right? You're going to be able to push that through the business. I believe you're going to make more money this year than you've ever made, and so that's going to create some tax issues. And so if there's a way to get some of those profits down and still invest in the business, it may be worth it.
Okay. That was extremely helpful, very actionable and tangible, Jerome. I very much appreciate all of that. Gave me a lot to chew on and and to go implement. So I'm going to close us out, guys, with a quote this Friday. And you know what? I'm going to, actually, Jerome, do you have a quote that you wanted to use for this week that might be a good kind of finisher here for us, man?
Oh man, here we go. Oh, we talked. We didn't record it, but you know where my mental state is right now with today, and so my friend Devin brought me a CD back in 2005 when I was sitting in the wheelchair, and it was Kanye West's Late Graduation. And so this morning while I was running, I listened to Kanye, and one of the quotes that jumped out for me, and I don't even know if it was on an album, but it's nothing in life is promised except for death. And it sounds morbid, but let's be clear. We have to go out and we have to create on a daily basis if we want our life to happen. Mm-hmm. And if we don't, then we're going to be left with a bunch of things that we don't really desire because it's not what we were seeking. And so for you all who are listening and hearing this guy implement and execute on a weekly basis, you got to be doing the same thing. It doesn't do you any good to listen to this and get all hyped up and jacked up and whisper, hey, here's what he did. You got to go live your life too. The only thing that's promised is death. The dash is all on you. And I think you can go out and make an amazing and phenomenal life for yourself.
Mementi mori. I appreciate that. That's absolutely right. Well, thank you all for joining in for, I think, one of the most tangible episodes we've had in a while. I think it's beneficial every couple months to track those habits. Jerome will keep me plenty accountable on that. It's like right now, you don't see clearly until somebody wipes the mist off of your sunglasses or your glasses, right? And or gives you a new pair. And Jerome just gave me a new pair because in my head right now, I'm like, why have I not done this? I've literally played golf like 3 times per week for the last 2 months. And I keep telling myself, okay, I'm just going to wait when I know I need to be playing with people that are already at those places. So I said the list, right? I said, I need to find the list. Well, guess what? Those country clubs have the lists built in. Those guys have net worths of $500 to $200 million. They're not a part of a $40,000 initiation fee for a country club if they're not. So I'll start there. I got the fog, wiped off my glasses. Jerome, thank you so much. Mementi morum. Go enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Compression Podcast. Love hearing the stories of shares and everything that's going out there. Stay tuned for an awesome little episode with my little baby girl, Isabella. She's going to be coming on the show here pretty soon. And we will get Taylor, the other side, the better side of Logan Freeman, to join very soon. So I need to keep that on the forefront as well. Have a great day. Till next time. Hey, compressors. If something you heard struck you, made you feel a little bit uncomfortable, good. Head on over to compressionpodcast.com. And then you can also subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts at. If you feel inclined to, please leave us a review. It's obviously helpful. But instead, I'm going to call you out today. I'm going to call you out and make sure that you do your part, sharing this message by sharing it with one person that might need to hear what we talked about today. Be great. Nothing else pays.